Right, 60 years ago, the Freedom Charter was adopted in Kliptown in 1955. The ANC has declared 2015 as the year of the Freedom Charter. 60 years later, and let's go back in time, taking stock of the past 60 years. Let's cross over to Ayanda Ali Payne. She's out in Kliptown. She's joined by a very, very special guest this morning. Ayanda, it's over to you. I believe that you've got Jessie Duarte with you this morning.
Good morning to you, Leanne. Yes, indeed, I do. But a quick trip down memory lane. In the early 1950s, when the anti-apartheid struggle was reaching a fever pitch, history tells us that the ANC saw a need for a clear statement on the future of South Africa. Thus, the idea of the Freedom Charter was born. A number of other liberation movements came together, the likes of the South African Indian Congress, as well as the South African Congress, or South African Coloured People's Congress, I should say, and a number of congresses actually gathered in Kliptown, flanked by ordinary citizens, men, women of various dispositions, of various levels in society. They came together to chart a way forward, to put together their dreams, their goals, their aspirations of what they want South Africa to look like. And thus we celebrate the Freedom Charter. I'm joined now by the ANC Deputy Secretary General, Jessie Duarte, to speak to us about the significance of that particular piece of paper, I suppose, or the ideas therein. Why is the Freedom Charter important in 2015?
The Freedom Charter is important because it was a genuine collection of the demands made by very ordinary South Africans, collected by volunteers who went door to door to ask people, how do you want to see South Africa changed? What do you want? And that is the lodestar of what's in our constitution today. That is what is the principles upon which the ANC premises all its policies, is the Freedom Charter. It's also that which upon we can judge ourselves. How far have we come? And when we look at today, when the Freedom Charter was written, the doors of learning and culture were shut to our people. When the Freedom Charter was written, our people didn't have as much housing as they had now, and in fact could not live wherever they wanted to live. Healthcare facilities were not available. Little children didn't have schools and creches and places to go to. When the Freedom Charter was written, we were in the grip of apartheid South Africa. We're free today. The land belongs to all who live in it. And of course there is outstanding the great land question in our country. Let's not deny that. The big issue for us, the big challenge right now is redistribution of land, which was dispossessed long before 1913. So there are issues. I think its great significance is looking at it and measuring oneself against it constantly, every day.
Let's talk now. You did mention the throngs of people who gathered here. I believe well over 3,000 ordinary South Africans who converged here today to chart the way forward. Speak to us about the role of the ANC in the Freedom Charter. Of late, we've been having some wranglings, people saying, oh, you're hijacking this particular document that belonged to people. It was at the Congress of the People. What is the role of the party within the Freedom Charter?
If you look at who made up the Congress of the People, you had the Congress of Democrats, which were essentially white South Africans. You had the Congress, the Coloured People's Congress. You had the African National Congress in the main. You had the Indian Congresses. There was the Transvaal Indian Congress and the Natal Indian Congress. From those volunteers, as the people who actually went out to go to villages, towns, cities, to ask people to give their demands. So if people are saying that the ANC hijacked the Freedom Charter, I think that is completely incorrect. You cannot hijack something that you created. However, the Freedom Charter does belong to all of us. It belongs to every South African. It belongs to us now because it's a historical document. But you can't remove the ANC from the Freedom Charter. It's impossible to separate your DNA from your body. And that's what the Freedom Charter means to the ANC. So, if other people adopt the principles of the Freedom Charter, we're very happy, because it means the influence of those values are spreading further than ourselves as a movement. And the movement itself is not a narrow band of people or the ANC branches. The movement itself is the people of South Africa, people who want to see change. And the Freedom Charter assists you to make that change possible. It teaches you a lot of valuable lessons that you can live by. It's a document you can live by, actually.
Talking about living by a particular document, where we are today, which is, I suppose, the epicenter of where it all happened. This particular place where we stand was a vacant piece of land, a soccer field where people converged. I can see the train just a stone's throw away, but also significantly where Mr. Walter Sisulu worked. And you were telling me that you know all the areas here where to get the best coffee, the best love chips. Speak to us about the surroundings then and perhaps the state that the people find themselves in today.
Okay, Kliptown was a hub. If one could say that. It was an empty field. I was a few years old at the time, so I can't give you an exact memory. However, this was a hub, and as children, this was the place where our mothers came to buy groceries, live chickens, skaapkop, sheep, and it was where black people had businesses. Most of the businesses in the street, in the area, were owned by black South Africans, which is a wonderful thing. So, in fact, today the area has dilapidated a bit. I see that the city of Johannesburg is trying to give it a facelift, to bring it back to where it was, give it back its historical significance. I think that's very good. It has a long way to go. It's congested. And remember, Kliptown is like Alex. It's one of the oldest communities in the country, urban communities. People have lived here for generation upon generation. They're reluctant to move. You have people living in backyards. They won't move unless you can guarantee them that they're going to come back to Kliptown. It's not about living somewhere else. It's about living where you were born.
So we will further just take a look at the situation and the conditions today. We're going to speak to one or two residents in just a moment. Do stay with us. Thank you so much to you, Deputy SG. We'll leave it there at least for now. Quick ad break. Morning Live continues after this.